Recipes for technical trading success in Cook's Kitchen.
Who put the wood to Wall Street? Well, of course, that would be Cathie Wood of ARK Invest. We're going to look at how she did it and how you can pick stocks around some of the themes that she has, and the risk and the rewards and the risks of investing along those lines. I've been doing it for years myself, and before I even knew that Cathie Wood of ARK Invest was buying these companies, I just learned about her a year ago when I found out she had the $5,000 price target on Tesla, and I was like, "What does this woman know?" Because I've been investing in CRISPR stocks for years. By the way, I just did a podcast with my colleague Tracy Reinick yesterday. Just published today. Should you sell your big winner stocks? Because she gets the question all the time, and I do the same, is, hey, I've got a 200%, 400% gain in this stock. Should I sell it? Well, it depends. It depends on what I always say. Well, what was your original thesis with the stock? Because a lot of times what happens is people will sell a stock just because it doubles when, they had a 5 or 10 year horizon on what that company was doing in that industry. And I'll talk about some of the CRISPR stocks that way. We'll talk about Tesla that way, Square and Roku and Invitae, all of them. I talk about it in the podcast, and we're going to dive into it with some visuals today. So I recommend you listen to, this is on Tracy Reinick's Market Edge podcast. So look for that. All right, so let's dive into my perspective on how Cathie Wood put the wood to Wall Street. So there's my when to sell article. Let's see here. I want to go to what I wrote the other day on Baidu and big commerce. Big commerce has not been acting well for us, but I still like it longer term. And we're gonna stick it out. We might be buying some more down here. If you own big commerce like I do, you got to think about, at first I thought I counted the months wrong. Like, when is their 6-month IPO lockup expiration? And from early August, that puts it at early Feb. I thought, man, they're just selling the crap out of it now here in early January. So not great, but it's still, we had Chase Coleman from Tiger Global buy 1.3 million shares at much higher levels. And I got to believe he's buying down here. Because I'm not saying that big commerce is going to be the next Shopify, but they've got a shot to double their revenues in the next couple of years here. So that's why I liked it. All right. So doing some homework, or, let's look at the Baidu chart first. That would help so I can set the theme here. Oh, here's Editas, which is a big winner for us. We bought it from my healthcare innovators down here at, we took, believe it or not, I took 40% gains because it was doing nothing ahead of ASH while CRISPR was exploding. So I took 40% gains after 3 years of holding Edit. And then I saw what was happening going into ASH, the American Society of Hematology meeting in early December, and CRISP started moving. I'm like, you know what? I feel naked without any CRISPR stocks. I've owned at least one CRISPR stock every month for the past 3 years. And I just sold NTLA for 155% gains. Couldn't get back in CRISPR. So I'm like, I better grab this Edit. We bought Edit in late November at $31 again. And it's just a beast here. And this is also a dynamic of the success of Cathie Wood with ARK Invest. The people are piling into the ETFs, billions of dollars in inflows. She's clobbered every other ETF family by, an order of magnitude. And, stock flows and ETF flows drive each other. That could be a double-edged sword, but I'm holding on to Edit because I share her belief that we're in this paradigm shift. I call this the century of biology, and I call CRISPR its greatest discovery. So that's why we're holding on to Edit. But let's go back to Baidu. So what happened with Baidu in December? Very good things. Like, I was a believer in Baidu for a long time. I mean, I liked it above 200 a couple of years back, but their advertising business model as the Google of China fell apart, and they just were not making the revenues there. Whatever industry or changes from the Communist Party were happening, Baidu wasn't cutting it. But I always liked them for their AI potential. You got the Chinese government building AI industrial parks around Beijing and Shanghai, and Baidu testing their autonomous vehicles there. Baidu's building the software. Well, so what happened? So we were buyers of Baidu, 120, 130. Even after earnings, I think I paid as much as 140 for some Baidu shares, and it's still just crapping out here. And then what happens? Boom, the stock starts moving. I'm like, okay, this is cool. And then on this day, December 15th, Reuters publishes an article saying their sources are telling them that Baidu is going to move heavily into electric vehicles. Well, I mean, they're already making AI intelligence and ADAS. ADAS stands for Automated Driver Assistance Systems. They're already making that kind of technology and software, hardware stacks for companies like Volkswagen. But this was a rumor like they're going to make their own electric vehicles with some other Chinese companies. So you know what I did? Like an idiot, I took some gains. I sold some of our Baidu up here above 180 because I thought, well, this is just a rumor. But then I watched the stock action here. Look at it. There's obviously a seller at 200. You know, you see all these spikes up here in late December into 200, but the stock does not go below 190. So whoever that seller is, as soon as he's gone, the stock's exploding. And that's exactly what happened. December 30th, boom, Baidu blasts 200. Very nice to see. So, and that's when I found out that Cathie Wood was buying. ARK Invest, the innovation fund, was accumulating a position. So I did some more homework over the New Year's weekend, and I found out she was buying even sooner than I thought she was buying. They started building their position on December 10th. December 11th, they add. December 15th, they just keep buying more shares. By 12/31, they held 1.7 million shares, worth over 370 million. That's quite a position buildup in a short amount of time, and you got to love it. It became the 14th largest holding. So let's take a look at the wrap sheet. Well, here was 12/31. You can see Baidu down here, number 14. I've got Editas highlighted, but here were the big dogs and Baidu moving into that space. So now let's talk about what else Cathie Wood is good at here, and that is I'm gonna talk about 5 stocks basically. I'm gonna talk about Tesla, ROKU, CRISPR, Square, and Invitae, because they're all stocks that I've loved and owned, even before I ever heard of Cathie Wood. And then, I tell people I've been investing in disruptive innovation for many years, but Cathie Wood broke the mold of Wall Street, and she made it systematic that we're just going to invest in disruptive innovation, and she knocks the cover off the ball. So we'll come back. Now it turns out that what are her top holdings? Tesla, Roku, CRISPR, Square, and Invitae, and they all have unique stories. If you don't know who Invitae is, NVTA, this is genomic sequencing, but medical grade. It would be if your doctor wanted to order a test for you to check something out about your genome. This is the company that they would send it to. They don't make the machines like Illumina. Illumina makes the $1 million machines that do genomic sequencing, but Invitae can do the medical grade tests. So this is not 23andMe. This is, something your doctor can work with to either be preventive about disease or to diagnose and treat disease. Okay, so Baidu boards the ARK. So there's a theme here. So before I even knew who Cathie Wood was, I was buying Invitae. I was buying Square. I've called Square the apple of fintech. I've called it Jamie Dimon's favorite mistake because of the financial ecosystem they built. I've been buying CRISPR stocks for 3 years. Roku, I've tried to be in and out of. And let's just talk about Roku for a second. Here's a company where the bears were huge on this. Like that guy from Wedbush, he's like, nah, it's a $60 stock. You know, this technology, it's hardware. It's easily, somebody can replicate it. Even Comcast came out with like a $5 option to compete with Roku. So you think, Roku's too risky. Well, the stock is more than tripled now. And she was a big believer there. CRISPR, we'll look at some of those stocks. I talked about Invitae. Square, the Wall Street hated it. You know, this is the theme with all these stocks. Look at all these, and Tesla. So these 5 stocks, and you can include all the CRISPR stocks. They were all held down and beaten down for a long time. Years in some cases. Many bearish analysts, many shorts, who just all got their lunch eaten. And, now they've all exploded higher. And, so this is sort of, this is how Cathie Wood takes the wood to Wall Street, because she doesn't care about short-term performance. She does not care about short-term performance. She's focusing on what is the potential of this company 5 to 10 years from now. And that's, I would say that my other favorite investor there would be the Scottish warlords from Edinburgh, Baillie Gifford, who've been around since 1908. The firm is still privately held by 44 partners, 250 billion AUM, and they were the largest holder in Tesla. They have a similar view. I don't know if they own any CRISPR stocks, but I know they own Shopify and the Trade Desk. We talked about that a few weeks ago. But all these stocks were hated, and now they've all exploded higher. They're the top 5 holdings of the ARK-K Innovation Fund. ARK-K is the innovation fund which spans all of their disruptive platforms. So they're going to own genomics. They're going to own energy storage. They're going to own artificial intelligence and industrial robotics. And, the ARK-K fund will own it all, whereas ARK-G, the genomics fund, will just focus on healthcare. Did ARK have to sell some Editas as it's rallied here? Very likely, so we'll come back to take a look again at the CRISPR stocks. If even Baillie Gifford, of course, Baillie Gifford had to sell some Tesla. It was their largest holding. It became way too big a part of their funds. So of course they had to trim some, but they're like, we're only doing this because we can't have it be such a large percentage of our portfolios, and we'll be back on the dips. They look at it, they believe in Elon Musk, and they plan to hold Tesla for 10 or 20 years. And I'm sure Cathie Wood does too, because the reason she had a $7,000 price target a year ago is because she knew that she believed that Tesla would own the combination of autonomous driving and ride hailing, and that together, and then they would have 80% gross margins. Look at Editas just screaming higher here. Now, is this because people are buying Editas, or they're buying ARK funds that can buy more shares? So that's nice to see. Now, what is the theme with CRISPR stocks? Let's go to the biggest. Here's CRISPR now. This is $70, $75. It's like a $5 billion valuation. So you can imagine, this thing's on its way to a $10 billion valuation. Let's look at who's already there, and that would be CRISP. CRISP hit a $10 billion valuation in December when it went above $150. Here it is on the move. These were like Editas and Intellia. I said you had to own them under $2 billion, just because of the technology. It's the greatest technology in the world. It's going to change the world. It's the greatest discovery in the century of biology. And you put CAR T therapy, immuno-oncology at number 2, and maybe you put messenger RNA vaccines at number 3 because they might cure cancer. So much going on here, but now investors can own a piece of these because they're getting bigger. So bigger funds can move in. They're not small caps anymore. So we're moving from this area where, hey, these were $2 to $4 billion companies. Now they're going to be $6 to $12 billion companies. Who could buy them? Well, probably nobody's going to buy CRISPR because Vertex is their big brother. So Vertex has got more access to the pipeline than anyone. So nobody's going to come in and push Vertex out of the way. Vertex would be like, you're not buying CRISPR, I'm buying CRISPR. But somebody could buy Editas or Intellia. Editas has most of the patents. We know that 2 women won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in October for discovering CRISPR and applying it to gene editing in 2012. That's Jennifer Doudna and Emmanuel Charpentier. But this guy Zhang from the Broad Institute, which is connected between MIT and Harvard, he did sort of an end run and gathered all these patents. He was just doing experiments like crazy and said, okay, we're going to patent this formulation. We're going to patent this formulation. So they've got huge IP in CRISPR. And then Intellia could get bought. So I think the scramble is on. And Cathie Wood would say, hey, if we were in the year 2000, we would already have a CRISPR bubble. These would be like, these companies would be trading for, tens of billions of dollars each. We're not even close to bubble territory in what CRISPR could be. Yeah, and the danger is always there that off-target editing causes a problem and messes up somebody's genome. When that day happens, one of these stocks could be down 50%. In the meantime, they are being recognized for their potential as the greatest discovery of the century of biology. All right, I think that's about all I wanted to cover. Just give you that taste of how looking at how ARK has done things and being able to ride out these long bases. I mean, you look at a weekly chart of Square, of Tesla, of any of the CRISPR stocks, of ROKU, of Invitae, and they were just held down for so long, for multiple years, and then it's moonshot time. She's even adopted the technical analysis sort of thing, like the longer the base, the bigger the breakout. And that, whether you're a technician or not, that's what happens in investing, is once something is recognized and becomes seen as a critical asset in the future. We've seen it happen with the software stocks. Why not the CRISPR stocks? We've seen it happen with Bitcoin. Bitcoin has an incredible, what is it? It's got to be, is it $1 trillion valuation for Bitcoin yet? I don't know, but it's close. It's well over 500 billion. Why would CRISPR stocks remain under 20 billion? So that, that's sort of the way that I look at the future. All right. Thanks for joining me in the kitchen. There'll be an article version on Zacks.com where I will post all the relevant links. And if you're watching this on YouTube, just scroll down and you will see the link to the article version with more good stuff. All right, we'll talk to you next week.